springtime.
Was that when you go?
Okay, we're going to count
Yeah.
down from 10.
Okay. Tell me when.
Now. What happened?
What?
You just received.
You said stop.
You said stop.
You
You
I know,
said
but
stop.
what happened before I said stop?
I counted
He
down.
started
and
counting,
And
then
you
you
put your
said
hand
stop.
up.
But you weren't looking at the camera.
I was waiting for you to give me a sign of the
Oh, I
5.
said count down from 10.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, that was.
So when you say count down to 10, I'll just start counting down from 10. Not even looking there. Just start counting down from 10 and look at the camera.
Yeah.
okay. He screwed that one up.
That's, you know, William Wyler did what, 200 takes, 500 takes?
And Woody Allen does one.
Does Woody Allen do one take?
One. All the time, one. He didn't even tell people what to do. Every now and then he does. There's a great documentary that just came out this year on Woody Allen. Fabulous.
Where is it? I have to get a hold of it.
I got it on Netflix, I think.
Okay, and you just type in Woody Allen
Woody
documentary?
Allen. Yeah.
Well,
Part 1, Part 2.
I've
There's
long-
actually 2 parts.
I've long contended, and this is the part of what his genius is that there's not a lot of script. He lets people play it out because
Yeah.
he just gets the most
Yeah.
talented people he
Okay,
can.
count down from 10.
Hello, this is John Ricciutti at Mainline Public Television and Radnor Studio 21. And my guest today is Larry Liss. Larry Liss was a captain. He was a Vietnam helicopter pilot. He is the recipient of a Distinguished Flying Cross and also a Purple Heart. Larry, thanks for coming back on to Radnor Studio. And I want to ask you some questions about some experiences that you had based on some information that you and I talked about. A lot of times when you and I talked about your experiences in Vietnam, you mentioned angels, voices, and you would weave them into your conversation, and I always wanted to go back to it, but I was so intrigued by your Vietnam stories, I didn't get a chance to really delve into it. So today I want you to tell me about your experiences with angels and voices and when they started,
Okay.
and how they started.
Okay. Good. You got it? This might be all over the place, so you have to excuse me. Because
Well, then it'll be 2 of us. Then it'll be all over the place.
because it definitely it can go all over the place because there's so many instances. But if I go back to like the beginning, because I want to give the fact that we're doing a live interview, so people are going to see this. So I basically want to give people a chance to believe in what I'm saying, and I want to give people a chance to think, well, he just messed up medically, and so mentally and physically messed up, so we can understand he would think that way. So I'm giving both sides a
Sure.
chance here. I know my side, where I stand. But when I was 9 or 10, I got hit by a truck. It was like one of these small trucks that you have carrying laundry. And it was Mother's Day, and I went to pick flowers for my mother. And there was a whole bunch of kids there along with me waiting for the bus. And I grabbed these wildflowers, and I raced across the street, and I got hit by a truck. I remember racing. I don't remember getting hit by the truck. But I was in a coma for 2 months. And I don't remember that either. But friends of mine who are still alive, because I wanted to check my story to make sure it wasn't made up, and friends still laugh at me when we get together as kids, reunions. They still laugh at me like, ha ha, we saw you fly up in the air and hit your head, ha ha, blood everywhere.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, that's the way they talk about it now.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up, I started on Jefferson Street in Winfield. It was brand new, war-built homes. It was really neat.
Built after World War II.
Yeah, it was late in World War II, and then when everybody came back, the houses were already there. The men came back, and And then we moved to Penn Valley. I think I was about 11 or 12. I went to Ballackinwood Junior High School for a year, and then Lower Merion. So I was in.
So you graduated Lower Merion High School?
I actually graduated the first year Harriton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Harriton, first year, and it was an open campus, it was called.
Okay.
It was like a college campus. That ended after the first year. We screwed it up for everybody coming afterwards, because we went to the track, we just played, and that's the way it was. But going back to, going back to voices, I think it took me a couple years to like wake up. They didn't have MRIs then, they didn't have CAT scans, they just had x-rays. So I think that my original, from what I remember, my original medical record said something like permanent brain damage or something like that. So I always held that I had brain damage. But apparently I had been awake for a couple of years. And I remember sitting in a class. This was at Ballackinwood Junior High School. I had no idea it was at Ballackinwood Junior High School. And this teacher was yelling at me, right in my face. This woman was yelling at me, "Larry Liss, you're always looking out the window. You're always daydreaming, Get up, go to the principal's office." So I got up and I walked out into the hallway, and everything was new. And I walked to the light, which is of course the doors, and I walked out into the light, and the light hit me. And I just looked around and I saw cars and people and green grass and trees and leaves, and it was almost like I just got put on earth at that moment in time. So I don't know if I would have been a permanent zombie, or had this woman not yelled at me. Something woke me up in that moment. And then my father's car came to a screeching halt, and my mother and father raced up the steps at Ballackinwood, and my father pulled me up in his arms, my mother was crying, and there was all this stuff going on. So ultimately I discovered that I had been like a zombie. I talked, I went around, but
For 2 years?
yeah, I wasn't really home. Okay, having said that, I was then told that I needed a psychiatrist. So this is where the whole thing starts. His name was Delano, like Delano Roosevelt.
Sure.
He was part of that family. It was in Ardmore at the office building, the tall office building, and I went for my first...
Ardmore in Suburban Square?
Yes, I went for my first meeting with this psychiatrist, and it was a small little ante-room, whatever you want to call it. It had like chairs over here. It was really small. And you walk in, and maybe 10 feet to the door where his office was. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the rug goes like this. And I really thought I was nuts. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong with my brain. I'm really messed up. And I just started crying. I remember crying. And
you were in junior high school?
yeah, and the door opens, and this real nice guy walks out. I said, "Hey, come on in." And I'm walking in, and I'm all shook up, and I'm crying. I sit down. I said, "What's wrong? What's happening?" I said, I'm so sorry. I'm crazy." He said, "Why are you crazy?" I said, "Well, I'm just sitting there. I see stuff all the time. I see things." "Well, like, what did you see?" I said, "Well, the rug went up." I watched the rug go up. He said, "The rug always goes up." I said, "What do you mean the rug always goes up?" He said, "When I open the window, the air comes in, goes under the door, and raises the rug." So it was like, so that was, as strange as it sounds, that was like the first time that I had like an experience that was BS. It wasn't out there, it wasn't crazy. It was, you could explain it. Except after that, there were things that happened that you cannot explain. So having said that, if I fast forward from there, probably that year or the year after, I heard a voice, not in my head, a voice like over here. And it said, "You will help many, many people." Okay, but I'm crazy, so I made that up. But I can tell you now that I'm grown up, the voice was right there. Couldn't see or touch anything, but there was a voice, like somebody whispering in my ear. And now it's more true than ever, because that's all that happened to me in my life.
Sure.
So again, fast forward from there and put me in Vietnam. And a number of things happened, but they don't have as much impact as this one. So I'm in Vietnam, I'm flying helicopters, and you have a cyclic, and then you have a collective, you move this hand like this. So a couple of months I had been there, and these rounds came right through the windshield, like boom, 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 coming right through the windshield. And this is what happened. I'm flying along, rounds coming through the windshield, I'm backing up, I'm getting small. It's called getting small. At least in my world, it's called, you get as small as you can in that seat. This is what happens. Like this. Except my hand never left the collective. My hand did not leave that collective. I would die. I'll go to my death saying that hand did not leave that collective. What was this? Okay. So again, it was like, okay, well, you know, I'm a little wacky, so, you know. So it's some optical illusion. Optical illusion, fine. So.
I mean, is that how you described it to yourself, as an optical illusion?
Of course, I needed.
Did you tell that story to someone and they said it's an optical illusion?
Oh no, I didn't tell anybody.
Told me right now.
Yeah, yeah. I've told a couple people that I
Sure,
like and
along
I
the way.
trust.
Yeah.
They know my shtick, so they know. Okay, well, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. It's a nice story, nice story. So, but that really got me because I knew in my heart there was something happening. Something happened that I was saved by a force unbeknownst to me. That's how I held it. I was saved and move on in life. Months and months later, we're at Ricciutti and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning, very hot, and I'm walking towards the communication bunker because I want to check in and find out what's happening for the next day for my mission. And we start getting rounds start coming in, and this kid McDowell, who had just walked past me, a round came in. It probably was like it was a rocket because it was intense. I got flipped up in the air like you see in the movies and landed on top of a tent. I think it was called a Baker tent. I'm not sure, but it was big. Maybe 8, 10 people in the tent.
What's a Baker tent?
I think
Just
it's
for the audience.
It's about a 10-person tent. I think that's what
Okay.
I call it. It might be the wrong name, but I got thrown on top of this tent and I stumbled off. I'm clear I was stumbling. You know, because when that hits, everything goes.
Yeah, the concussion is.
My
impactful.
first of many concussions. Yeah, well, my second or third of many concussions. So, which gives people a chance to know that I've had a lot of concussions. So maybe I'm wacky. The ones who don't want to believe. And so, having said that, I hear screaming, and it's McDowell. So I run over to McDowell, and I'm like over him, leaning over him. And I don't want to describe what it looked like, but I was like doing the best I could to work on him and just be there for him. And in a situation like that, when there's rounds going off and there's missiles, when things are coming in and you see bang, 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 lit up, lit up, lit up, lit up, lit up. Everything's lit up around you, rounds coming out, runs coming in. And what happened was, when I looked up, my vision right in front of me, like right here, I could see everything. But when I looked to the right, it was black. When I looked to the left, it was black. When I looked up, you could see all the tracers and all the rounds going. And when I looked up further, it was black. It was like weird. It was like black around me.
Yeah, so this in that little framework,
There was something,
you could see all the combat.
I could see everything, but there was something over here, something, it was not, there was something wrong. Could have been in my head, could have been concussion, okay? But didn't look right. And then there's a voice, and there's like a hand on me, on my shoulder, right here, very light. And the voice says, "You're okay. You'll be okay. You'll be okay."
You heard that voice.
Absolutely. You're okay. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. I could feel it here. And I stopped shaking, and everything like calmed down. And then it was like, again, light, everything around me, no more black like this. But the one thing I forgot to say, when I looked up, it's like I was looking up into a black shroud. It wasn't like everything was black around me. It was like something was around me, like a shroud, like a cover, like protecting me.
Sure.
And I mean, still gets me like that. So everything clears up. Medics come, they grab McDowell, who later died, like a couple of days later, and I was fine. And then my friend Brent Artley, and we'll put a stop. Artley will come out more. Artley was the greatest character I ever ran into in the military in my life. A fellow captain, really cool guy. He comes walking over to me, and this is Artley. Hey, who is that big dude over you? I said, what? He said, that big dude, man, like a basketball player. I said, really? What'd you see? He said, nothing, just big black thing, and I saw you and big dude. Like, I said, you saw that? He said, yeah. I was like, okay, well, all right. So then it got really weird, but Artley saw it. So if Artley saw it, and I'll tell you more stories about Artley some other time, but if Artley saw it, then it was something happened. It was real.
At the time, before you went to Vietnam, at any time in your life prior, were you a real spiritual person? Were you religious? I know you're Jewish, and so were you? No, I don't think you were Orthodox.
No, we're actually Reformed. It's called Reformed for
Okay.
those people who aren't Jewish. So I got bar mitzvahed, because everybody in those days in the 50s got bar mitzvahed. I was born in 1941. So in 1954, 1955, I mean, that was America emerging from World War II.
Yeah.
You know.
10 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Country clubs and
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. It was like American graffiti. Yeah, and I also got confirmed. I went to Beth David Reform Synagogue. I got confirmed, but I wasn't religious. I was very nationalistic. That was like I was a believer in Israel. You know, because by the time Israel declared its independence, I was like 8.
In 1948.
Yeah, I saw it on the newsreels.
Right.
So, you know, that was it
Sure.
for me.
And Exodus and all that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, but you were you religious? I mean,
No.
So your experiences had nothing to do with you being a true believer,
No.
or I want to go back a little further. When you were in the coma, now this is me being crazy. Did you hear any voices then?
No.
Did you recall?
No.
No.
Nothing.
So you were just in a coma.
Yeah.
Came out of the coma. You
Yeah.
walked around in a daze, and then
Yeah.
from there you actually went to Philadelphia. I mean, Pennsylvania
Military
College.
Yeah. It's the only school I could get into.
Did you have
I
any-
hate to say it like that. No, I applied to Temple. I applied I applied everywhere. I couldn't get accepted anywhere, but PMC accepted me. It's like,
So did you have any experiences there that you can recall?
it's almost like all the time.
Did you ever? And I'm just jumping
No,
in
no,
here,
yeah.
but I know you well enough that I feel comfortable doing this. Did you, at any time, say during the heat of battle, you know, God, if you get me out of this,
Yeah, of course.
you did.
No, yeah, sure.
So you.
I used it sparingly. I only did it one time. Considering there was probably 100 times when I could have begged God to save me, I saved up my capital. You know, I call it my capital. You know, I was putting spiritual money in my bank account, in my God bank account.
Sure.
I never looked at it like that till I got older.
That's all right.
But then, we had gotten.
We've all done it for different reasons.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't conscious of it. I totally was not conscious of it. We were getting mortared at Cu Chi. We were getting mortared and zapped from underneath. People ultimately discovered that we had built Cu Chi on top of the tunnels. It wasn't like Cu Chi was there and they built tunnels. No, that was the tunnels. And then, like idiots, we built a whole base on top of the tunnels. Didn't even know we were there, and always trying to figure out how the hell are the people blowing us up like this? How did they get through the fence? They didn't get through the fence. They already were inside
there,
the fence.
yeah.
Which I know the Cu Chi's there. Everybody goes to visit it, but they don't talk about it like that. But I was there, on top of it all, and it was like the 4th day we were getting mortared. It was to the point where you couldn't take a shower. You couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was like bad. And I woke up one morning, we were still getting mortared, and it was pouring. It was like during monsoon season, so it poured all the time, and you couldn't get helicopters or airplanes. You couldn't get anything in there to help. So you were at the mercy of whatever they were throwing in. And I know I've told this story a number of times. I mean, it's so real. I couldn't take it anymore. I was so afraid. I had my boots on for 4 days, and that's a bad thing. It's like you don't want to be.
You don't want to die with your boots on.
Exactly right. No, it's true. And I was on the 4th day with my boots on, like, you know, mocking guys that kept their boots on. And I got down on my hands and knees in the rain and the mud, and I just looked up, because that's what you do, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
some reason God's up there. I don't know.
You assume.
Right. Assume.
hope.
Yeah, right. And in the rain, I said, God, please let me live. If you let me live, I promise you that I will always take care of people. It was like that, right? And so here's the kicker, and people can do with it what they do. In the middle of a monsoon, this never happens. The thunder stops, like boom, and the clouds, the rain stops, and the clouds open. This is within 60 seconds, and the clouds like part, and the light hits me like kaboom. I'm telling you, it melted me into the ground almost. It hit me so hard, and I just started crying my guts out. I couldn't stop myself. I mean, there has to be something. This could not happen like this during the monsoon season. Anybody that was there who lives in monsoons would know it does not happen like that. It slowly ebbs day after day, but not that dramatic. And that's just the way it happened. I just accepted that whatever God is, wherever God is, he, she, it,
Help me out that day.
them, like called the holy people that have gone down through time, that some people believe they're there for us. I mean, I got it, and not like a zealot, but every time I had a chance to help, I helped, and I still do. And so that was, to me, that was one of those magic moments.
Tell me about you. You started telling me about your pilot friend, who saw the shroud, as you called it.
Yeah, the big dude.
Yeah. What happened? What happened with him and after him?
This is something we could partially save this for like the next interview, but Artley was he was Artley, not
His
Brent.
name was Artley or Artley?
Brent Artley.
Brent Artley.
Artley.
Okay.
I knew he had a number of daughters. I knew he was divorced, and I might not be getting the story right.
At the time, you knew he was divorced?
Afterwards, something. Every now and then he would call me from a payphone that I discovered was at a general store somewhere in Oregon or Washington, up in the Northwest. And he would call me and just say hello, or he'd send me little cards. Like one time he sent me a card, shows the wolves, and it says, you can't be one of the guys if you pee like a puppy. And so it had like the little puppy peeing, and then it had the big wolves there. And just little cards like that he would send. And this one time, he called me up and he said, by the way, he said, have you ever seen the big dude again? And I was like, oh man, come on.
Have you?
No, never again that. But
Do you still?
no, but there's voices. The voices are
I know.
there.
We've
somewhere.
We're only talking about angels here.
Yeah, the voices are in
Well,
there.
you did tell me about a couple voices.
Yeah, well, that's
Over your right shoulder and in your ear.
yeah.
People would have thought at the time that he's hearing voices. I mean, that's one of the signs anyway that
Yeah.
a person's.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I didn't walk around saying, hey, I just heard a voice, and a voice in my ear said this. It was like,
No,
I'm not going to open my mouth. People think
No,
I'm
no.
crazy anyway.
No.
So,
I don't think that people would. I think maybe they might have, but I don't think people would think you were. I wouldn't.
well, that's my thinking. No, you're right. You're
I
right.
wouldn't think you were crazy. I think I think there. I interviewed a lady here, incidentally, who was she's a marketing person, and she sees angels. So you're not unique in that respect.
Well, now here's the kicker. This is the one that's way out there, right? So for a number of years, I would think that I have an angel around me, because every now and then I'd hear a little whisper or something. But
Yeah.
Then it was like 3. Now this is 3 voices hanging out around me, talking, right? It got as far somewhere around maybe 2000, something like that. It got really big. There was like 8 or 9 or 10 of these voices. And they were like men and women's voices, almost like Zeus with all the Greek gods up there. But these voices were going around. It got so weird that it was like, listen, we don't like this guy. We're going to sell him out. We're going to destroy him. No, you can't do that. He's a really good guy. He's doing good things. So all this stuff is going on in my head, right? Really. But I was light about it because I knew, well, it's just something wacky. I made all this up, which is fine. I made it all up. And I told a really good friend about this, and he was like a believer. Yeah, he didn't mock me or anything. He always just say, "Oh, do you still hear the voices?" Blah blah blah. And then at some moment in time, I didn't hear the voices again, ever, and I haven't since then. I've not heard the voices since then. But it was like for about 5 years, I heard those voices.
Did you ever try to recognize the voices? Like
All I could tell you
like
was-
who are they? Who
No.
is that? Is this like an old aunt? Is it, like
Not-
a person dreams, tries to recognize certain things? In
I didn't. No, I didn't. I could have dissected it like that, I guess, but I didn't do that. But I knew that I had my friends there. There were friends. There were a couple women, a couple of men.
Sure.
I call it angels or whatever, voices. And it could be. Look, it could be the centuries and centuries and millennia of holy people that could be there. I mean, that's how I've diagnosed it lately, is that somewhere that we can't see and we're not aware of, there are many holy people that are still somehow speaking or somehow involved. So I've taken it that far, and it could be, it could be baloney, so to speak.
Did you become a spiritual person? Much more? Or
I think, I've always cared about people. So on one hand, you could say, well, that's the way.
well, it's a promise you made.
Yeah, well, it's a promise I made, but something you have to do. See, there's the people do things that almost like they're driven to do,
Right.
and some are good and some are evil. I mean, we're seeing it now. There's a lot of evil out there, and a lot of good people trying to counteract the evil. So I'm not sure about that.
You're not sure that you're a spiritual person?
Oh, well, I care about people.
I think
I don't know how to define spiritual other than I constantly seek to have myself be better if I see something. I constantly work on managing my mouth. Like if I see something, if I don't like something, 20 years ago I would have killed somebody for it. I don't mean kill them literally, but I would
I know what you mean.
hack them up in little verbal pieces. And nowadays it's more like I can see more viewpoints than I ever saw before. So if you call that spiritual or a sense of enlightenment, you can throw that in there. But I know one thing. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're so courageous, and you've always been courageous." And courage, for me now, courage is not like people get awarded medals for killing, which they should because they're so heroic. But to me, courage and heroism has to do with compassion for people. If I really look at the people I've known through life, anybody, firefighters, policemen, whoever they are, I mean, they go way above and beyond.
Right.
And people can say, well, they're just doing their job. No, they're not just doing their job. There's something in them that drives them to help. And I think it's a compassion for their fellow human beings.
And that's what you have.
Anytime that I've been a hero, in quotation marks, I won't do this, because that's out nowadays. Can't do that.
You can't do that anymore?
Oh, no.
I didn't know that.
No.
See, I'm not hip to that.
No, but I've been watching it on TV, and now people are being mocked for going like this, and
okay.
I get it. Okay, I'm not doing that one anymore. But I don't know how to say this. I have seen time and time again. I know that person did that just for their love of other people. They've done that, including jumping on grenades. I've heard people want to smack people around when they say, "Well, that's just an automatic reflex." Really, it's an automatic reflex. It might be an automatic reflex, but it has to do with their love of somebody else, and they're willing to give it up to save others.
Yeah.
It's about compassion.
Yeah.
But it happens so fast, you don't get an instant replay where you can slow it down.
Right.
So,
Anyway, I enjoyed having you.
Okay.
It was fun. I hope you come back and do this with me again.
for sure.
With Larry Liss, Vietnam Distinguished Flying Cross pilot. This is John Ricciutti at Mainline Public Television in Radnor Studio 21, and I hope you enjoyed our broadcast. We will be back again. Thank you very much.
Well, we got on a roll there.
We did. Yeah, we did.
She took my crib sheet away. You took my crib sheet away.
Well, next time you give me
That's all right.
You give it to me in advance.
No, there was only a couple things in there. It went.
No, but I remembered things and I brought them up, and
Good.
you said,
No, you
and
did
I
great.
didn't, and I didn't pursue